Hello, welcome. I'm STG Sandhya, Assistant Professor, Department of CST, Gokaraju Rangaraju Institute of Engineering and Technology. Dear students, in this part of the video lecture, as a part of the course Programming for Problem Solving, we will be looking at Unit 3. What is Unit 3? Unit 3 contains two chapters. Chapter 1 is strings and Chapter 2 is functions. So we will take a look at Chapter 1 strings. So what are we going to see in this part of the video? We'll try to see what is string meant and what are the basic understanding of string. How do you declare and initialize strings? How do you read and write strings, and why do we need strings? So let's just proceed. Why do we need strings? Before we understand about string, in general, what is a string? String is basically a collection of characters. A group of characters is termed as a string. How do you put it in C language? What are the uses of it in C language? Or what are the uses of strings in problem solving? All that we'll see as we go by. So why do we need strings? Strings are very useful when communicating information from the program to the user. Strings enhances readability of the program. Strings are very handy in large and complex real-time applications. Strings are used to store names, places, etc. And strings are also used to store a group of characters. So these are all the basic reasons why we need to use strings in programming. Okay, how do we implement strings in C? Is string a data type? Actually, no. The answer is no. String is not a predefined data type in C. So strings in C are implemented as array of characters. So a sequence of characters terminated by a null character is defined as a string. So we implement strings as character arrays. So that's the reason when we were talking about arrays, we did not much talk about strings. Okay, here we talk about strings as character arrays. So how do you define a string? A string is a sequence of characters that is treated as a single data item by a compiler and that is terminated with a null character. How do you define a string constant? A string constant is a group of characters enclosed in double quotes, whereas a single character constant is a character enclosed in single quotes. This we have seen already in the constants of Unit 1. Okay, what is a null character? In C, a null character is actually represented for terminating a string or to indicate the end of a string. So because in C, arrays knows no bounds, like you can't determine the logical end of a array. That's why a null character is logically used to terminate the end of a string. Okay, how do you declare a string? So C does not support string as a data type, so you use character array. So therefore it is char, the data type, array name or nothing but the string name in the bracket size. Size is a fixed quantity. For example, if I write something like char city of 10, it means the city can hold up to 10 characters. Name can hold up to 30 characters, where size is a fixed value. Now let's also try to take a minute and try to understand what about size of a string. What is the size of a string? Size of a string is nothing but the number of characters stored in the string plus 1. Why do you need that plus 1? Here you can understand why do you need that plus 1. Plus 1 is essentially needed to store that one extra null character, which is the logical termination of every string. So therefore, suppose if I want to store India, what's the length of India? Check out India. India is a 5-letter word. To store a string India, I require a minimum size of 6. I repeat, we are talking about minimum size. Maximum size can be anything, but the minimum size required is 5, the number of characters in India, plus 1, that is 6. So the minimum size to store the string India is 6. For example, now take a minute, everyone, and try to figure out what is the minimum length of the string required to store your name. My name is Sandhya. So therefore, Sandhya. Sandhya is a 7-letter word. So to store Sandhya, I require a minimum of 8 characters. So therefore, the minimum size required is 8. Okay, now tell me what is the minimum size required to store a string called Hyderabad? Yeah, exactly. Hyderabad is a 9-letter word. So therefore, you require a minimum size of 10. So char city of 10 will sufficiently store Hyderabad. That's right. Okay, let's go ahead and try to see initialization. Why do you initialize? Exactly, initialization is a legal default data. If you want to have some illegal, if you don't initialize, we'll have some garbage or illegal values. To have some legal default data, we do initialize strings. Yes, language C supports initialization of strings in 2 ways: compile time initialization and runtime initialization. Let's proceed to see compile time initialization. These are all the possible, as listed, these are all the possible ways of initializing strings. Okay, let's take up the first example. So as I told, this is example char str of 9 is equal to my string. Okay, this is the first way. You're directly initializing this with a string constant. Yes, a string can be initialized along with declaration. Please understand, a string can be initialized along with declaration with a string constant by writing my string. Okay, on the other hand, a string can also be initialized with a group of character constants or single character constants. Example, M, Y, single quote S, single quote T, single quote R, I, N, G, and null. So there is a difference here that all of us can understand. One is here, in this case, you can have, okay, you can have, whenever you are supplied with a string constant, null is automatically supplied by the compiler itself. Suppose I'm initializing a string with a string constant, null need not be mentioned because it is given by the compiler automatically. But whenever I initialize with multiple single character constants, null needs to be supplied by the user. This needs to be taken care. Okay, on the other hand, here this is initialization with missing size. Yes, you can initialize with missing size. Here we can, if this size is not there, example, say suppose here 9 is not there, even then this works. Okay, this works. You can initialize with missing size. Likewise, example, here also you can initialize with missing size. Both of this are possible. You can initialize a string with string constant and directly with string constant. Here I can do it with string constant also. Imagine I can simply write here my string, missing size, my string semicolon. Yes, this will work. This both will work. This is legal to initialize a string with string constants. It is legal to initialize a string with string constants. Okay, so that's what. Let's move to the next one. What is there in the next one? This is how the memory map looks. I'm putting it in my string. So this is the index. Index is 0, 1, 2, so on, n. My string is a 7-letter word. Okay, so therefore 8-letter word, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the end, you'll have null. Because character requires 1 byte, it is there an array of contiguous elements, which is just 1 byte each. This is how the memory map looks to understand. Now, can I initialize with more, more size? Example, my string is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My string is an 8-letter word, so minimum size required is 9. Can I have more than that size? Can I have 15? The answer is yes. Yes, you can have more size than the given, initializer size. Yes, exactly. It supports. This is legal. The remaining will be filled with null according to the rules of partial initialization. But can I have lesser size? It says illegal. This is clearly illegal. Language C says this is illegal because you can't do that. This is illegal. That's what. You can't have lesser size than the size of the initializer. The minimum size required is 9, but here you have the size 3, which is lesser. So therefore, you have 3, which is lesser. So therefore, this is clearly invalid. Got it? So remember, please do remember, you just can't have this happening. Okay. So now let's proceed to see the next initialization. Okay. Next initialization. Now, can I initialize a string, individually with single characters after declaration? This is something we are talking about after declaration. Yes, this is possible. After declaring your string, the string can be clearly initialized, individually with each character, because str of 0 talks about single character. You can initialize with M, Y, S, T, and not to forget, the last should be null definitely. Okay, so let's see and try to see after declaration. Is it possible to initialize a string after declaration? Yes, if this is the case. In this case, it is possible. Now, is this possible if I write like this? I've just declared a string char str of 9. After that, I wrote str is equal to my string of my string. This is clearly illegal. This is illegal. This is invalid in C. C does not support this kind of initialization. Okay, so now, can I initialize a structure like this? Initializing a string using a character pointer. Can I do it like this? Yes, you can initialize a string after declaration along with its character pointer or using a character pointer. I can write char star p is equal to my string, which is legal. You can also declare a pointer and then initialize your string to that pointer. Now this becomes a constant pointer, but even this is okay. This is legal in C, but trying to initialize a group of values like this is clearly illegal because it is illegal to use the array name on the left-hand side of assignment operator. The point to be noted is it is illegal to use the array name on the left hand side of Assignment operator. Exactly. Let's proceed to see runtime initialization. We all know assigning values during runtime or program run is called as runtime initialization. There are multiple ways of doing it. One simple example is you have a char name of 20, enter a string, you give your name here, scanf percentile s, this is how you initialize your string. Or otherwise you can loop and use get char or scanf percentile c. Scanf percentile s or get s and get char or scanf, all these are the possible ways wherein you can initialize. Example, you can write for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus, str of I is equal to null. These are the multiple initializations that you can do. These are all the possible initializations we can do. So hope you have understood how do you initialize it, how do you initialize it. Before we go to the next chapter, now I recommend all of you guys to take a pen and a paper and try to do a few things on your own. Now that you have learned about the multiple ways of initializing strings, take a pen and a paper and try to initialize a string called name with your name in all the possible ways, and also a string called city with the city called Hyderabad in all the possible ways, both runtime and with compile time. Okay. So before take that and we'll meet up later with another chapter. Good day.